right, guys, I'm super excited. We have our bees. I wanted to take the chance to show off some stuff though. So this is how the bees get shipped. They get shipped in these wooden boxes with like this mesh. You can see on the bottom some of the bees are not doing so hot. Actually, a lot of them seem pretty fine. They just kind of maybe don't want to stick with the actual cluster. A lot of them are clustered like this though because in the center of these boxes there's a can that has the queen for their hives. I want to see if I can. They're kind of pretty well swarmed around it, so I don't know if I can show you guys, but I'm going to try to get videos tomorrow of us installing the packages. It's raining right now, so not a good time to do that. So this is what it looks like. They get shipped like this, and tomorrow I'm going to basically open this top with a hive tool, which is like a little crowbar. I don't know if I'd be able to open it otherwise, or staples, but I'm going to pop it open and just start dumping the bees in. It's not that simple. I'm gonna have to take the queen out, and then I'm gonna have to apply some sugar water to them so that they have a harder time just flying away, because I want them to make sure they fall into the hive, so that way they recognize this is where they will be staying. But it's super cool. I'm very excited for it. I also have another chance to show you, when you start a hive, you wanna make sure you feed the bees. And we're gonna feed them a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar water. And I have these like kind of handmade feeders. I say handmade, but like obviously they're store-bought jars. Handmade though, because I made these little holes in all these. Not supposed to be all that pretty, but they're small holes, so that way I can fill them with the sugar water. And then it's super cool. They turn upside down and some water drips out, but you can see that the vacuum created by just the water trying to get out, there's no air that can get in very easily. It stays like this, so the bees get to come in and they get to come get sugar water as they want through these holes, which I think is super cool. But that's the main stuff to show off tonight. Tomorrow is going to be the big day. I'm going to try to get videos, pictures, and everything of actually installing the hives. Also, you can see some of the bees are on the outside. That's also not a big deal. The bees are really just staying close to their swarm so that they, just don't get separated, don't get isolated. They're very, I don't know the right word. They're eusocial, that's the word, but I don't know a better way to describe it without actually getting into it. So this is what we got. All right, hello. So as you know, we have our bee boxes. My phone is on top of a bee box right now, so I'm sorry if you hear some buzzing. They seem pretty excited. But I'm gonna install them very soon. I just finished preparing the hives themselves. I'm getting some water heated up to make the syrup, the sugar syrup to feed them. I showed the feeders that we're gonna use earlier, but since it's cold outside, I'm gonna have to install them. I wanna go ahead and show some of the process that I'll be doing, because it's cold, I can't take pauses. So I'm gonna go ahead and start demonstrating. First off, we have the bee boxes themselves, the packages that they came in, and I'm just gonna draw a rectangle here. I'm gonna draw this to be the lid. There's a can that goes in here, and there's a bunch of bees, just kind of in here. All the bees are going to be centered around the can to start, because that's where the queen is. The queen is in the can, and that's to isolate her. If the bees have to accept a queen, and a lot of the time in these packages, they haven't yet accepted her. So they are shipped like this so that the bees can, over the course of shipment and getting ready to install the package, they can start to coat her in their pheromones and such, and that way they'll accept her when they finally do reach her. That's another lesson for later though. So first off, if you remember the video, the bees were centered around this can, and they kind of swarm. I'll take this time to show you now, like this is them. There's a can in the middle, kind of like along that wooden bar that was shown. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna basically drop this box down. I'm not gonna drop it, I'll just like push it down on a surface, so that way all the bees fall to the bottom. And in that time, I'm gonna take this hive tool, I described it as a crowbar in the past, and I'm gonna use it basically to pry this wooden top open. I'm not gonna do that now because I don't want them getting out in the office space. So I'm gonna use that to pry this open. And in that time, I'm gonna take the can itself out and then quickly put the lid back on. So that way I can put the queen in my pocket. You'll probably see that. Put the queen in my pocket. Like I said, it's cold outside. We don't want her to get cold, but I have to isolate her so that way I can prepare to actually drop the rest of the bees in. So I'm gonna do that. Let's see, what is this looking like? Another box here. This will be the hive body itself, and the hive has a bunch of frames in it, about 10 So we'll just leave it like that. And I'm gonna just basically turn this over and dump the bees in. And it'll be fairly simple. I'm gonna shake it a little bit, gonna make sure the bees all get out. Before I do that actually though, I'm gonna take this. This will be full of some of the sugar syrup. It's just full of some water right now for demonstration, but I'm gonna slightly prop it open after I take the queen out. Prop the top open and just spray a little bit so that way the bees themselves get weighed down because we don't want them flying everywhere. There's a bee flying around now, hey. So once they do that, they'll be weighed down. It'll be harder for them to fly, and that's what'll make it easy for me to just dump them in. So once I dump them in, they're gonna get all in here. And once I feel like I've gotten most of them, I'm then going to take this package and set it down in front of the hive and just leave it here. And that's where it'll stay. That's where it'll live for about 3 days, maybe a little bit longer, while all the bees slowly get oriented with this hive being their new home. So while I have that done, or after I have that done rather, I will put the queen in her little queen cage you'll see in between 2 frames, and that's where she'll stay for a few days while the bees eat through the cage. There is a piece of candy on one side that the bees are going to slowly eat through to reach the queen. So they're going to reach her, and once they reach her, like I said, they're going to coat her in their scent, their pheromones, and hopefully by then they'll accept her. And after about 3 days, maybe 4 days, I'm going to come back and just see, is the queen still here? Did something happen? Is everything okay? If she's not there, then all is fine and dandy. And we can actually start the actual hive itself. Well, the hive is started, but we can start the normal hive maintenance. You'll also notice that the hives that I'm doing this on are going to be 1 box tall. Usually you're going to have hives that are 2 boxes tall, but because this is a start, we just want them to associate this spot as their hive. And then once I come back after a few days, I might add the other box. Got to see how they're doing at that point. But that's the gist of what I'll do. I'm going to try to narrate it as I go. I'm just doing this now because, like I said, I won't be able to stop and pause it as I'm actually doing the installation. Okay, guys. Here's our second hive. I've already installed our first one. I went and did an installation to make sure I understood everything well. So I realized that the metal can that holds the queen, is actually kind of also a blockade. So I can go ahead and remove this top cover. This top wooden slate is what I'll call it, which is very convenient because I found out it's actually fairly difficult to get off, especially when you're trying to be quick about everything. Because in the last one, I dropped the bees to the bottom and they started to get riled up before I even got it off, which just slowed my whole thing down because I was trying to also be aware of possibly angry bees. There we go. So now throw this to the side. I've removed a few frames from the hive already, so that way all the bees can just kind of fall in, and I'll add a few more back at the very end of this. But let's start getting everything ready. The queen is attached, the queen cage or queen, yeah, the queen cage is not attached to the can actually. It's its own thing that is right beside the can that's held up by another staple with a strap on it. So I'm removing that staple now so that way I can remove the can and then pull her up quickly. Like I said, I'm going to pocket her. She's going to go in my little front pocket here. Let me go ahead and make sure this is nice and open so I can just drop her in so that my body heat can keep her warm while I work on getting the rest of the bees in the hive. But before I do that, remember, all the bees are like right here. I don't want them here because if I pull the can out, they're going to start flying out. So what I got to do is drop them. And they don't love that. They definitely don't love it, but I would not love to get swarmed. And I don't want them to be able to just fly out before I'm ready to put them in the hive, because then they get to look for other hives, and I want them in this hive. This can is annoying to deal with as well. Alright, I think I got a grip on it, so I just got to start pulling up. Pull up out quickly, put the can back in. Here's the queen. This is a great view. She's in the cage. There's a piece of candy here blocking the rest of the bees from her, and over the next few days they're going to slowly eat their way through that. Oh, there's a few bees in here, but the queen is in there I guess those extra bees just happen to be able to get in, but they're not a threat to her if she's still alive. And that's that. So, next order of operation, my sugar syrup. I'm gonna pull the can up, and as soon as I have the can out, I'm gonna start dousing as many bees as I can in the sugar syrup. Dousing might be a bit of a harsh word. I want them wet because it's harder for them to fly when they're wet. And the sugar itself gives them kind of food, so they make use of it. But let's get the can up and out. All right, and now let's just start spraying. Let's change that to an actual spray. And just kind of douse these guys nice and good. Keep spraying, keep spraying. I see a nice little sheen on a lot of them. These guys are pretty docile. The last hive was a bit more active, but now that I've gotten them a bit sprayed, I get to now turn this upside down, start pouring them in. And some of them will just fall in. Some of them are gonna require a little more coercion. I'm gonna have to really work this a bit. Maybe a little bit of actually hitting it on the sides of the hive, so that way get that extra little bit of force in my dumping them. I don't want to be too aggressive, just for the fact that the bees will remember a person's face. Hopefully they remember my face as the one that brought them to their new home, that they will be taken care of very nicely in. But as you can see, I've gotten most of the bees out. There's still a significant amount of them, but if I sat here trying to get all of them out, it would just take forever. You can see there's a big bee actually walking around. That's a drone. He's this guy right here. That's a male bee. Generally not that useful in the hive, sad to say, but it's cool to point out they actually cannot sting. They do not have stingers, but that's another lesson for another time. So now that I've gotten these guys in here, I'm gonna grab these two frames, put them back in, find a spot that's fairly not central. Oh yeah, there's also a mound of bees now in this open space, but they'll figure it out. These frames are not heavy enough to squish any of them. So now I gotta try to find a space that's fairly not central. I'm gonna pick over here. And now, our beloved Queen Beauty, as one child has lovingly described, will just fit in between two frames here. I'm gonna pull the phone over. You just look for this yellow strap. But her queen cage is gonna be put in between these two frames, and that's where she will stay until I come back in a few days to come and just kind of assess the health of the hive see if they've taken to everything well. And now I suppose I'll just put everything back together. So, don't need this anymore, don't need this. You can see the package here in front of the hive. There's gonna be bees that come out front and start signaling, hey, we're in here now, come on. And this is the inner cover. Usually it goes at the top of the hive, but because of the way we're gonna feed the bees, it's actually gonna go here in between the first and second box, so I can place a feeder on top of this because there's a little handlebar. And that little handlebar will be ample space for the bees to actually come up and start getting food from the feeder that we use. So now I put this on top. And then finally our outer cover that holds everything together. And this is a beehive. It started, and let's see where it goes.